Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down.
Welcome back to another episode of the Podcats Podcast. Today we have special guests. We always have special guests, right? Every guest is special. But today we have three members of the Social Studies Department at Normal West High School. So as we always do in these department spotlights, we're going to just go around the table and have you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your educational journey. Some of them are longer journeys than others, like Mr. Berardi and I. Some of them have been around a little while, especially at this school. And some of them are newbies. So we'll start with the newbie. Jill, Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your educational journey?
Yeah, so I'm Jill Brody. I went to Illinois State for history education, and I just liked Normal so much that I decided to stay and search for a local job. And luckily, 10 days before school started, Normal West wanted to hire a new social studies teacher. So here I am. It's my first year teaching, and I'm glad to be here.
And so you were not a Normalite before you came to ISU.
Mm-mm.
Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up near Lombard, Illinois. So I went to Glenbard East High School up in the suburbs of Chicago.
Okay. And did you always want to become a teacher?
Yes. Ever since I was in elementary school, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I just didn't really know what subject I wanted to teach. So for a little bit in high school, I was thinking, oh, maybe math would be cool to teach. And then I realized that I would have to do math for the rest of my life. And that's not something I wanted to do.
That's a good call.
Yeah. I really enjoyed history. So
yeah, good move.
Went that route.
Good move. Mr. Tony Berardi.
Hello.
Same question.
Okay.
If you were confused, same question.
I get confused easily. Sometimes it's because I'm sleeping. But I graduated from Illinois State University way back in the spring of 1994. I, too, thought about possibly being a math teacher because I dig logic and the application of it, but not enough to teach math.
Right.
All right. I graduated with a degree in social science education, which meant that I was certified to teach all of the social sciences. Now they've collapsed that down, I believe, into the history major. But anyhow, I actually was working in a federal jobs program helping poor and challenged kids find jobs. It was called the JTPA program. And I had lots of different interviews for teaching and always made it to the final round, but never kind of got the call that we hired you. And then about 2.5, 3 weeks before the school year started, I was going through a box in my apartment, and I found the Unit 5 paper application way back then. It wasn't
definitely.
I'm like, oh, I never sent this in. Well, might as well. Sent it in. 3 or 4 days later, I get a call for an interview. Go in and interview with Joe White, the Social Studies Department chair, and Larry DeGay, who was the basically assistant
human resources director.
He was number 2 in the district at the time, and had a great interview. And then I was at my job when I was actually teaching a class to a bunch of the kids where we built a computer, learned about software and all of that. And then I get a call during the class, during the work, and they offered me the job over the phone. I said, well, can I think about it first? And they go, sure. And I go, yeah, I'll take the job. I just
so truly, can I think about it for a second?
Exactly. That was 100%.
Right.
And yeah, so I've been here since day one of Normal West being opened.
And you are one of 3 remaining originals. You, Steve Price,
and Christy Fairfield. Yeah, and we are the last 3 remaining.
Yep.
And if the math works out correctly, I will be the last one standing because they will all retire 1 year before I do.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then shortly after you will be this guy.
Right, yeah.
Who is not quite an OG.
You are. You were in the building the first year, though.
Correct.
You are in my mind.
Yeah, we'll include you, even though maybe technically you were a student teacher. You were here. You were here and developed it. Yeah.
All right. And so you have not taught anywhere officially, like as a high school teacher or
my entire
junior
career
high?
was here. Almost went off to California 15 years ago. etc. But yeah, it wound up being here my whole career.
Okay. And Dr. John Bierbaum, we don't get a chance to interview a ton of doctors. Dr. Cadron was here. Dr. Jerry Crabtree. Dr. Bierbaum.
Yeah, well, my wife is very proud of me being a doctor. She tells people that my husband's the kind of doctor that doesn't earn any money. So it just all depends what you're looking for in a doctor. It is, pretty cool to be doing this, sitting across from you, Mr. Franz, my old business teacher. I took a lot of classes from you. I enjoyed them.
Not enough to become a business
I'm not translating them into making a lot of money, but I lost that unit somewhere. And then Mr. Berardi, I took every socialized class I could under Mr. Berardi. In a lot of ways, he's a mentor to me in teaching. And so I started my career here in 2005 teaching at Normal West with a lot of the teachers that I had. So it's been pretty special. Getting into profession, I'm a workaholic. My brother has this landscaping business thing.
Never would have.
And we started, he started it when I was in grade school. And so schooling has always been an escape for me, actually. So all through high school, when it was a good study day, my parents would have us miss school to go out and work, actually, because if we got behind, we would miss school to go and actually go mow grass or cut down trees. And so schooling has always been an escape for me. And so even to this day is that I love teaching. I got into teaching social studies. I never thought about anything else. I am not good at math at all, so I never, ever, ever had fantasies, more like nightmares about anything related to math. And so I was working one day, literally out in the summertime, probably weed eating someone's yard or trimming trees or something. And Mr. Eater called me up, our old principal, and he offered me the job. And my first question was, so this job pay like a wage? Like how much am I making per hour? Or is this? And he said, John, this is a real job. You get a salary. And so that was my frame of reference. So I've just always felt extremely privileged and honored to have a teaching job. And I love it. And it's something that I look forward to doing every single day, especially here in Wildcat Country. Yep.
And if you do make it, are you a tier 1 or tier 2?
I'm tier 1.
You're tier 1. That's what I thought.
So, yeah.
So that's good. But you will, because of your 4 years at West as a student, will be, when you retire, one of the people that's been in the building the longest, like just physically been in the building. And we have some others, but none that have taught from start to finish. You know, Shane Hill was an example, but he's gone. So
I take with tremendous responsibility, trying to think about ways about maintaining the traditions and things that has made West very special. And there's been a lot of really cool kids, students, teachers, people, and having that memories of my sister and my brothers going through her, and my wife and everything. So I think about like the origins of these different things and trying to continue to celebrate. So I'm aware of that, and I try very hard to keep doing things that are fun and cool at Normal West.
You definitely do. There's a lot to unpack there and a lot of truth in that as well. You know, I feel, even though I didn't go to high school here, when you're a student teach somewhere, and I actually interviewed, when I went in to interview, I interviewed with both the Normal Community and the Normal West principals, Alan Chapman and Dr. Crabtree, and then Mr. Thompson was the building chair or department chair. And I thought they were going to give me the Normal Community job. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know what I'm going to do because that wasn't really where I felt like I wanted to be. So it is a special place. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about what you teach and what you enjoy most, like what class specifically you enjoy most out of what you're teaching right now.
Yeah, so I teach U.S. history and civics here. I used to teach regional world studies, but they thought I was too cool, so they kicked me out of it.
Got it.
So I teach...
I mean, there's a price to pay for being too cool.
I know. But my favorite is civics because it's more of like... I can take in real world examples as they're happening. So like, especially with the inauguration that just happened, I could say like, all right, let's look at it. Let's unpack it. Let's compare it to Biden's farewell address. Let's examine that, and I could really
you're going to have a lot to talk about in the coming months. Every time I look at Yahoo News, I'm like, oh my gosh, really?
There's a lot of political news going on. So there's a lot of lessons that it gives me just listening to podcasts on my way home every day, I can be like, that is something that I can talk about tomorrow because it connects to like this idea. And it's very cool to be able to pull in current events to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tony B.
I teach U.S. history, sociology, and a class called Intro to Logic, which used to be called Social Issues, but now it's Intro to Logic.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because the social issues have changed to the point where it's all about logic?
Sure. And actually the name of the class, Intro to Logic, is probably closer to what the class actually has always been.
Got it.
I wasn't around when it was named, but I was around when we renamed it.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Good. And what do you enjoy teaching the most?
I would say that it really kind of depends on the time of the year, what we're into. I would probably say more or less my Intro to Logic class because it's a very unique class, I think, for a high school experience. It's not a current events class, but it is. It's not a philosophy class, but it is. It's really a class very unique, how to learn to see your world through the lens of analytical reasoning. And
I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
We've lost a lot of that. And maybe it's like, I'm on Facebook. I try to stay away from it as much as possible. But just seeing the posts that I see, there's just not a lot of logic that I see in a lot of those posts. They're very passionate about stuff, but I think they have a tough time stepping back and trying to see the big picture and try to analyze issues logically. So I appreciate the fact that you guys are doing that in your
social
curriculum.
media is the great lesson in the informal fallacies because people just don't quite know what they don't quite know what they're talking about. And I don't mean content-wise. It's just
That's a great quote.
Yeah.
Don't quite know what they don't quite know.
Yeah. It's not an original, but I'll take credit for it.
Yeah, that's a good quote. So
that's the stage that Mr. Brody's in. He gives these lumps of wisdom, and you write them down. And so, thank you, Mr.
well,
Brody.
you don't have too much. You only have a couple years of that left. So
he's our Yoda. He's our department's Yoda. It's like tell us Yoda.
Yeah.
I've taught a lot of subjects actually within social studies. My goal is to teach every class in social studies. Right now, it's mainly government and like world history. I enjoy teaching whatever I'm teaching at the moment. I actually started off teaching sociology with Mr. Berardi. It did not work out very well because he knew a lot about sociology and I didn't. So I'd rush through like 4 days of content in about 10 minutes. And I'd go to him and say, oh my God, Tony, so like, what are you doing tomorrow? I was like, John, I didn't even get done with the warm up today. Like we have so much. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. But currently right now is government in this, political climate that we're in is pretty exciting. It turns out that kids really want to think and know about politics. They just don't have a really good place to learn about it in a way that people aren't yelling at each other or name calling or spreading all this stuff. So it's a lot of fun letting the kids engage in these topics and give them a place to do so.
I will tell you that one of the teachers that I remember the most was my U.S. history teacher, Mrs. Luthi. I remember not liking social studies a ton when I was in high school, but we didn't have classes that challenged you in those types of ways. They were very much just learning facts, and I wasn't a big memorizer. I enjoyed math because it was, process oriented and accounting and stuff like that. But I remember her because she could talk and have discussions, which I did enjoy. I just didn't like the memorization of facts. That was what education was like when I grew up, and it's a lot different now. But so I think that if I had to teach something else, music would be one. No, just kidding. I'm zero musical talent. Social
B, I'm
studies
coming for you.
You play the radio real well.
Yeah. Social studies would probably be the area that I would enjoy most because kids, especially when it just comes to just talking about stuff, they don't get enough of that in their life right now because of social media and because their discussions are all through a phone. When I grew up, there was just not that. We talked all the time.
And even when they do engage, it's usually in an echo chamber because they can just unfriend or silence the people they don't want to hear from.
Right.
And they just get support for what they want, good or bad, right or wrong, logical or illogical.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So up on the board behind you, we have some of the most important traditions. And we did this last semester when we had the first four, not the first four, the four principals, Dr. Crabtree, Mr. Reeder, Mr. Johnson, and Angie Cadron, Dr. Cadron, to do a tournament. We're not going to do a tournament, but I would like to go around and have you tell me which one of those you think is the greatest tradition at West. And I'm going to start, we're going to go the other way so you can hear them because you haven't been around as long. So, and you don't have to talk for too long about it. Just tell us a little bit about which one of those traditions you think is the most important or you like the most and why.
Well, definitely March Madness food. I'm a food guy. No, I see the FMP beat that. I was part of the committee that brought FMP. There were several teachers who did that with Bernie Char. We met at Parkside to talk about what a mentoring program would look like, and I think that Jason Klockengay has definitely been a torchbearer for that and impacts countless amount of kids. I think that the school fight song means something to me. When I was high school here, Melanie Smith had lost her life, and so there's a dedication of the fight song in a gymnasium, and her brother and I had PE together, and it's a little bit before me, but my older brother's age, so that means a lot to me. I think that our parade is not on there, but that kind of goes with the whole entire festivities of West. But definitely the winter being a great day to be a Wildcat. I would agree with that. I think that it's a great day to be a Wildcat, something that, people when they're talking about West, that's kind of something that comes to mind. Although Senior Bricks is definitely has to be up there as well.
You guys you're in Senior Brick land. So
we're in Senior Brick land.
You see them.
Franz, you're the one who brought.
For a few more years at least.
Yeah.
So there's a really cool history with the Senior Bricks. So I think that you captured the right things. I do agree with great day to be a Wildcat. What about you, Berardi?
Well, hold on just a second. I'm going to stop because I'm going to make two little side annotations.
Yeah.
Do you know where Great Day to Be a Wildcat came from?
Yeah, I think I do, but everyone kind of has a little different answer. So what's your story for it, where it came from?
A lot of people think it's Dr. Crabtree.
Yeah.
Andy Turner, according to Dr. Crabtree, and we talked about that in our discussion, that Andy Turner was the first one to actually say it, and then I think Minnis and Crabtree were part of that.
I think Minnis
that spread it. That they were the ones that grabbed it and said this, and just kept saying it. Right. So
I'll agree with that.
And the other thing that I was going to say, what were you just talking about? Sorry, I'm old.
Well, just the fact that the Great Day to be a Wildcat and then the Senior Bricks.
Senior Bricks.
Yeah.
So I believe it was Mr. Tony Berardi that the first year we ever did the Senior Bricks, he walked by. I just happened to be in the senior hallway, and he stops and he looks at. Do you remember this? It was you. I know it was.
Yeah.
And he looks at it and said, "Do you see what that says?" And I had no idea, and I stepped back, and I'm like, holy cow. It was something totally inappropriate that they had masked and over 4 bricks or 5 bricks, actually. And Berardi just, I don't know if he knew it before or if he just walked by and somehow it jumped out at him and like, okay.
I think I had seen it for quite a while, and I was just hoping somebody else did.
Someone that was involved in the...
Right, well, does it say what I think it says?
Yeah. It's like, maybe I'm just not getting it.
Yeah,
maybe,
obviously I was glazing right over it.
And that's happened a few times with the Senior Bricks over the time where we catch something that they think that it's some pop culture reference that we won't understand, and it's like, no.
This was just a visual thing.
Right.
So I'll tell you guys
turn your
about
head
it
and you
afterwards.
squint your eyes.
Can't really... talk about it. So go ahead.
Well, being here from day one, all of these things, obviously I've seen, participated in or whatever. Now, being that 18 years ago, I took over the organization of Westfest up there, that would be one that I would be very near and dear to my heart. Yeah. That was something that was started our first year. Dr. Crabtree, our first principal, said that he always loved the idea of school carnivals, and it had just gone by the wayside because of expense, because of rowdiness. You just, and he wanted to bring something back, and it was very different what it was. It was just kind of a informal thing where they fired up this giant grill and people ate, and there was a lot less of us too. I mean, still a lot of people, but and it was just like, wow, nobody ever does this. And then over a couple of years, it started getting organized, and we had one year when Survivor, the TV show, we had this gigantic Survivor. I about killed myself. I was
out on the football field.
Tony, do you remember that one time we had all those hot dogs?
Yeah, well, that was the first year I took it over. Yeah. Where we fed the whole staff.
That was such a great year.
Oh, but it almost was a catastrophe because we had 25 big cookers, and they all were blowing all the fuses in the building.
I would hope that day. I'm like, man, why do I feel like crap? It's like, maybe because I ate like 16 hot dogs.
And then the manager of the cafeteria came to our rescue. She said, "Are you guys trying to cook all those hot dogs?" Yeah. Well, why don't you let us do it? Oh, and they opened up the giant steam cooker, and within 10, 15 minutes, she goes, "Well, cook them. We'll put them in your thing." And it's like, oh.
That's
so we
awesome.
we literally had the entire staff of the West, not just teachers and people involved, but custodians. Everybody was involved. And
had a steamed hot dog.
But my son and I went to, he was in 8th grade, and he went with me that day, and we went to Schnucks, and they sold us 2,000 hot dogs, 2,000 buns, and they gave us a big box with like 2,000 little ketchup and mustard packets.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it was.
I'm surprised they had that much even in stock.
They said you would be surprised how many hot dogs they have. They said.
I mean, I guess hot dogs don't really go bad. So
well, yeah, and so I
think the shelf life is
30 or 40 years.
Yeah. I love Schnucks as much as the next guy, but is that the place to buy 2,000 hot dogs?
I had just called around, and when they hooked me up, and I found out that in a extended Trailblazer, you can get all that food in there and have room to drive. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Great
memories.
But so Westfest is to me is the greatest day to be a Wildcat. But I can understand why it defeated Westfest, because every day is a great day to be a Wildcat.
That's a really tough first round matchup.
Yeah. But what I did is when I took it over, it had kind of gotten, I don't want to say stale, because the people who were organizing it were still, because it was a lot of work and whatever. But what I did is I said, hey, what are other things we can do? So we had laser tag come in. We had we just tried to bring everything in, and then raising funds for it, which Dr. B, when he really came forward for a number of years, where we had the plant sale to raise it. But trying to get people into their strengths of what they can organize. But I really feel that I kind of keep the organization of it in place, and then I just get other people who step in and say, "Let me help you however I can." But everyone does a great job. So I've really thought that's a tradition that very few other high schools have anything really like it.
And it's well done, and it shows by how many students participate, because the first few years, there was just a lot of kids who were like, I don't want to be there.
Yeah, it was, let's just call out.
But Jill, it's pretty hard to probably choose amongst those, because there's some of them that you maybe don't even know anything about, but do your best.
As a new teacher, I've not seen King of Hearts yet. I know that's coming up here. I have to say, being in the senior hallway, the senior bricks, like, the first day coming into West and seeing like all the beautiful art on the walls, and like just looking at like what's around my classroom, and then every time I walk around I find a new brick to look at, and it's always entertaining to see like how it's changed from when it first started. Like you can see a lot from like 2004 all the way back then to like what the bricks look like now, with like or Leah Marlene's, with like the American Idol finalists. I think it's just cool to honor the school history by honoring the individual students that went here.
Yeah. Yep. And I will tell you, when they come back, that's one of the first things they want to look at. Yeah. We just had a normal West grad on, Kyler Stork. I don't know if you remember him, but that's one of the first things he did. He got down the senior hallway and he looked for his brick, which was just inside the senior hallway.
So. And I have a few friends that are alumni of here, and I'm always like, all right, let's see if I can find his brick,
Right.
And then the other day I saw another one of my friends, their bricks, and I was like, oh, look at that,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
It's very nice.
Today's podcast sponsor is Select Screen Prints. Select Screen Prints has been in partnership with Normal West for over 25 years, providing quality Wildcat apparel at an affordable price. Choose Select Screen Prints for all of your custom t-shirt, sweatshirt, and apparel needs. They now offer digital printing, which allows for fast turnaround and excellent quality at prices that are less expensive than most online apparel companies. Select Screen Prints is the choice in Bloomington Normal area and beyond. Check them out for your next apparel order. All right, last question. We're 25 minutes in. We usually try to keep it to about 20 minutes, but we've had some great conversation, so I have no problem with that at all. We always like to ask our teachers, where would you be if not doing this? So we're going to start with you. What would you be doing if you weren't teaching?
Honestly, I would be pretty sad.
Well, that's not. I'm not looking for an emotion. I'm looking for an occupation.
Yes. So
In the world today, that might be an occupation.
That's true.
yeah, being sad. Well, throughout college, I worked at Jason's Deli as a manager. And so if I didn't get this job, if I didn't get any teaching job, I would probably still be there, just hoping that one would come along. But food service managing is not for the weak.
No.
And so I don't think that I could do that
Nope,
forever.
I think you're in the right place.
And so after that, I don't really know. I don't like being in meetings all the time, so I could not do business, but sorry about that. But
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
I'm not in business either.
yeah,
And I do not like meetings. I'm not a fan. So
But I think I ended up in the right career because, like, you know, I like coming to school every day. It never gets boring, ever.
yeah.
And so
I will tell you, after almost 30 years, and you and I are both on pretty much our 30th year,
Yep.
it doesn't get boring. It can get frustrating, but not boring. So,
yeah.
Tony B.
I can answer that easily. I'd be running my own restaurant where it would be Italian Asian fusion.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you cook me up some Italian Asian fusion and bring it? Yeah, I would love that.
I absolutely can.
Love it, and then I can comment it on our next podcast.
Yep.
Or whatever.
I married the head chef, so yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. Well,
Smart.
If I weren't teaching, I'd be at Tony's Italian Asian restaurant, maxing out every day. I'd try to get a dishwashing job or something that gets good
you
discounts.
could be a busboy. You can work your way up.
I enjoy teaching future teachers at ISU or Illinois Wesleyan related to education, but there's also a lot of bliss and flow that I find working with my hands outside. Every single day going to someone's house and like doing something that really they like us. So something landscaping, something of that nature, that's very possible. So yeah.
We have a first for the Normal West podcast, a guest saying bliss and flow.
That's right.
To describe work.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I think he has a fever.
Maybe not on a really cold day. So maybe
Yes, that's true. All right. Well, thank you all three for coming in and showing us and having us listen to a little bit about the social studies department and three of the members of such a strong department. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.